It's a damn tough life full of toil and strife. We reaver men undergo, and we don't give a damn when the fight is done how hard the cannons did blow. 'Cause we're homeward bound from the hunting ground with a good ship and crew within. And we won't give a damn when we drink our fill in the holds of old ruin. Rolling down to old ruin, me boys, rolling down to old ruin. We're homeward bound from the hunting ground, rolling down to old ruin. Once more we fly through the Stanton sky, through the black, the cold and pain. Them bulkhead walls, them mighty guns, we soon shall see again. For 6 hellish weeks we've passed our way, lying our grim living. But now we're bound from the hunting ground, rolling down to old ruin. Rolling down to old ruin, me boys, rolling down to old ruin. We're homeward bound from the hunting ground, rolling down to old ruin. Once more we fly to the Pyro point towards our station home. Our thieving done, our jump drive spun, and we ain't got far to roam. Oh, our crimes are tallied, our names are done, life sentences all round. A living gale is after us, thank God we're homeward bound. Rolling down to old ruin, me boys, rolling down to old ruin. We're homeward bound from the hunting grounds, rolling down to old ruin. How soft the light from the dying star, now the Lord is far astern. There's drinks abound in the neutral ground, awaiting our return. Even now our friends are looking out, hoping some fine day to see our engine tails marking dazzling trails, rolling down to old ruin. Rolling down to old ruin, me boys, rolling down to old ruin. We're homeward bound from the hunting ground, rolling down to old ruin. We're homeward bound from the hunting ground, rolling down to old ruin. It's a damn tough life full of toil and strife. We reaver men undergo, and we don't give a damn when the fight is done how hard the cannons did blow. 'Cause we're homeward bound from the hunting ground with a good ship and crew within. And we won't give a damn when we drink our fill in the holds of old ruin. Rolling down to old ruin, me boys, rolling down to old ruin. We're homeward bound from the hunting ground, rolling down to old ruin. Once more we fly through the Stanton sky, through the black, the cold and pain. Them bulkhead walls, them mighty guns, we soon shall see again. For 6 hellish weeks we've passed our way, lying our grim living. But now we're bound from the hunting ground, rolling down to old ruin. Rolling down to old ruin, me boys, rolling down to old ruin. We're homeward bound from the hunting ground, rolling down to old ruin. Once more we fly.
Yo ho. Yo ho! Had a little technical difficulty there. How's everybody doing? Thanks for tuning in. This is Captain Dirty, and we are back with another episode of Talking Dirty. As I just camera here. Today we are going to be taking a look at a recent video by a popular streamer, content creator. Many of you may have heard of Avenger One. His recent video is called "We Need double exclamation point to talk about piracy." Now we're going to talk about piracy. We're going to talk about this video, yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right into it.
Next time you get pulled over the police, make sure you comply, okay?
This is the police?
You damn right it's the police.
Point two, I'm engaging. Copy that, ring 2. There it is. Coming in for point 2. Right on you. You ready? Yes, sir. Gotcha.
Welcome back, everyone, to another video. Today, I wanted to take some time to talk a little bit about piracy. In the last 5 days, we have intercepted, pirated, and stolen cargo from over 60 vessels, equaling almost 38 million.
I'm going to stop it right there. Okay, yeah, that's some big numbers he's talking about right there. And those kinds of numbers surprised me and other org leaders that I'm in communication with. And yeah, we thought that was a bit high, a bit exaggerated, maybe. It turns out I spoke to somebody who was watching some of Avenger One's streams while he was putting together footage for this video. And the tactic that they used in order to get that many hits was that they split up their team into each person on the team was in a different server. So if there was 12 of them, they were in 12 different servers, and they're all at SMO 18 in their individual servers. And as soon as somebody showed up to do some trading on one of those servers, everybody else would bedlog right next to SMO 18 and then join on the server where someone had spotted a target. Now, is that an effective way to do it? I suppose it probably is, and it might make these numbers a little bit more believable. Just as an example, many of you who are watching this maybe tune in to some of my streams, and you'll see I usually on for about 2 to 3 hours, and within the course of about 2 to 3 hours, sometimes we get 0 hits, and sometimes we get 3, maybe 4 if we're getting real lucky. On an average night, I mean, we've had nights as high as like 6 or more hits in that kind of a time frame, but that's rare. Same thing with finding nothing all night. That's also pretty rare, but it does happen. Now, from a personal org, standpoint, do I look at this and I just say like, oh wow, those are good numbers? Is that something I want to do? And the answer to that is no. That's it's a bit gamey to me. It's a bit cheeseball, if you ask me. Now I can certainly see, scouting a server and spreading out and searching all the spots, and you've looked around for an hour, maybe 2, and you're like, man, this server is just dead. We need to go to a different server. Yeah, sure, absolutely, we do it. There's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes the 100 people on that server are just not trading or mining or doing any of the things that we would like them to be doing. And so you do have to server hop every once in a while. But to, have the tentacles all out in different servers, and then to all swarm in when somebody finds one target, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's for you, it's not for me.
full of gold, barrel, and things like drugs, you name it. Almost every single one of these ships didn't have a scout or an escort to save their life. And it made me ask a very serious.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Um, yeah, the amount of times that we've run into somebody doing, industrial stuff with an escort or a gunner, I could count on one hand. And I've been doing this for 3 years now.
Serious question. Why are people so cavalier in the way they fly around with such high risk stuff? If you're going to risk almost 2 million in a C2 Starlifter, shouldn't most people even consider the possibility that
Shouldn't you consider the possibility that you might lose all of the stuff that you just packed into that cargo bay? Yeah, they probably do. And here's what I think the truth of the matter is. Most of these cargo runner, mining type players, they do 20, 30, 50 runs, and they don't see any players. Maybe they run into, a random PvP griefer outside of Port Olisar or Grimhex or wherever, every once in a while. But outside of that, they're not running into actual pirates who are out there waiting for them to fill up and then, stopping them with the intent of taking all of their cargo. And so, yeah, they're not worried about it. And, the thing that all of the combat, security pilots say is, the same thing. We do 50 runs and we don't see anything. It's just boring, right? And, the security guards at my work, all they do is sit there all day, man, and just, wait for something to happen. And most days, nothing happens. And that's your job. You're a security guard. If you're running a security org, that is literally your job. So you have to expect that most of the time you're there, just be there. And you're not really going to be needed a lot of the time, especially in the current game state. Now, do I think that somebody running cargo should be running an escort? Yeah. Yeah, because, look, I know that Chaos Squad is not the only pirate org. There's a ton of pirate orgs, big, small, in between, and they're all out there doing stuff. And the frequency where players are going to start to get hit, it may at some point start to turn the tables a little bit. And they may start to think more about, oh, yeah, maybe I should actually get an escort on this run in particular, because on this trip in particular, I've got a lot on the line, and I know it's a dangerous route, right? And we can talk a little bit more about some of the ways that you can avoid getting pirated here, for those of you who are tuning in for that kind of information. I'm not giving it away in the beginning. I'm going to make you wait for it a little while longer. But as far as escorts and gunners go, when we steal a ship and we fill up another ship, and by the way, we spend like 30 minutes to an hour filling up, taking all of your cargo out of your C2 and filling up our ships, right? That takes time. That's an investment of time right there. When we go take that back to sell, we make sure there's gunners on it. We make sure there's escorts on it. Part of that is because the places that we go to sell don't have armistice zones, right? So they're a little bit more dangerous than what other players might be experiencing / expecting. But also we know that it is very easy to soft death, a ship. It doesn't take very long. If you've got a quantum dampener, that ship is fucked, right? There's nothing they can do except maybe run to AZ. So, yeah, we run escorts when we have cargo that we care about, making sure it gets to where it wants to go. All right, let's see what else he's got to say.
possibly they might be pirated? And if so, where are we going wrong here? Are people not being educated? Is there a culture that it's not going to happen? Do people not know the risks when they take off? Sometimes I ask myself, how do people justify the risk? Considering most trade routes only give you 10 to almost 20% profit, and that's on a good side. So I wanted to make this video, and I wanted to make it very clear about the things that we have seen in the last week and some tips that the smart trader will be able to look past their emotions and understand that this video is for them and not to stand around gloating about all the catches that we've had. I genuinely want the
You did start off the video doing just that, but okay.
best for this game. And I want people to understand that piracy is not going away. It's here to stay. And in fact, I think CIG, in a lot of ways, is promoting the behavior. And so we must all ask ourselves.
Yeah, he's not wrong about that. Piracy isn't going away. CIG is definitely promoting it. They've been subtly promoting it for a long time now. I mean, really, it was very clear in the very beginning. They said very clearly, yeah, piracy is a thing. It's going to be in this game. That's why I signed up. But yeah, I mean, being able to shoot down a ship's doors that doesn't belong to you, yeah, that's for us. Nobody else is doing that. Being able to move cargo off of one ship to another, that's mostly for us. The industrialists get a little bit of use out of this too. But you know, let's be real. This is mostly for us. Um, the way that the game works, that it allows us to go and shoot you and find you if you are carrying cargo. Um, just the way that it has been designed, giving us the ability to stop you, to soft death you, to do shutdowns before that, the ability to do quantum interdiction. Yeah, they say it's in a bounty hunter's ship, right? But let's be real. How many bounty hunters do you see flying Cutlass Blues and Mantises? None. Next to none. I think I've seen one, maybe two. Not a lot. Barely any actual use for the intended purpose. So yeah, piracy isn't going anywhere, and I do think that, you know, we've seen a huge increase in, you know, piracy and pirate groups within the last 6 months, right around the release of 3.18, the ability to transfer cargo. Now, I do think that the odds that the average cargo runner is going to run into a pirate went up quite a bit this year. So maybe, you know, 1 in 50 is no longer a really accurate number. I don't really know. I don't run cargo. I couldn't tell you how many runs you can do before you run into a pirate. But imagine it's less than it used to be, and it's probably going to continue to get less and less, especially as, you know, as long as we're stuck in such a confined, you know, game space. You know, there's only 4 planets and 12 moons or whatever it is, 16 moons to go explore. A lot of those moons only have about 5 places where you can buy and sell anything that's worth anything. So it's pretty finite worlds, and people gravitate towards the most efficient, the most valuable spots. And so do we. So yeah, piracy isn't going anywhere. People should be making themselves aware about piracy. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what you can do in this video to prevent piracy. Because, you know, I've seen parts of this video already, and there are some pretty big gaps, I would say. in the knowledge. So yeah, I'm gonna see if I can't share something with you all today. All right, let's keep going.
Are we going to get with the program, understand how to keep ourselves safe in this new environment, or beg, complain, and possibly even quit over an inevitability that the truth of this game
What's up,
that
AMD 300?
risk equals reward? I think for the most part, we have had many years in Star Citizen where the times have been so good and the piracy has been so few that the general Star Citizen player base, I believe, is in a state of, I guess, almost denial. It may be hard to say or hard to listen to, but the majority of the player base is not ready for piracy. I have seen many, many times people unaware that they're being watched, unaware of the risks of how to disengage, completely oblivious to even how they're getting caught.
Okay, so yeah, he's not wrong about this. Most of the time, most of the people that we interact with have no idea how to react in a way that is going to be beneficial to them. I think a lot of that has to do with a general lack of knowledge in the player base about how piracy works. One of the most common things that I hear from the anti-pirate crowd is there are no piracy mechanics in the game, and a couple minutes ago I just listed off about 5 or 6. That's, I wouldn't say that most of them are piracy mechanics. They're mechanics within the game that allow us to do what we do. But yeah, most people don't understand quantum dampening or quantum snares. A lot of, you know, a lot of people don't understand what's happening when their ship shuts down. A lot of people don't understand that it's actually pretty easy to get on board their ship and that you don't have to glitch. Shooting down the door is not a glitch. Following them up the ramp is not a glitch. In fact, another little thing that CIG and Chris Roberts just tossed our way is that when we walk onto your ship now, there is no warning that somebody is on your ship. If I'm understanding the most recent, or the recent Inside Star Citizen, and the recent changes, so players aren't getting charged when they shoot us when we walk onto your ship. So that's one for all the Care Bears out there. But we get the advantage of there not being, a pop-up on your HUD saying, "Hey, some person whose name you don't recognize is on board your ship now." So it's a little bit of a win-win, I think, for both sides of the player base there. But yeah, let's see what he's got to say about how to avoid getting pirated.
And then if they ever do get caught, pointing the finger towards personal attacks.
AMD 300 says, "I got pirated and I was able to hold them off, but it was a numbers that got me." Yeah. So it sounds like you either got shut down or soft deathed and they boarded your ship, and had more people on board than obviously you. Yeah. Which, that's a way to react to getting pirated. I think what a lot of the industrialist or Care Bear side of the player base wants to hear is, how do I win a pirate encounter? Because there's a belief, and I think it's an incorrect belief, that there is nothing that they can do. Well, they're already setting themselves up for failure by flying a multi-crew ship solo with a lot of investment on board. There are definitely some things that they could be doing to set themselves up for success, like having a gunner, like running security. Anyhow.
Sputtering, pointing, and being upset, which all things I understand. When you get pirated in a $2 million C2, you're allowed to be frustrated. But the big question becomes, it's not the game's fault that you got caught. And sometimes that may be hard to hear. If you are being watched, if you notice that there is an interdictor ship within your targeting sphere, so if you are loading up at, let's say, SMO 18 on Microtech, which is currently where the gold...
Okay, so we're just going to stop right here. What he's talking about is situational awareness. As a solo trader, once you get out of your ship and you're sitting there at the terminal, your situational awareness is 0. It's less than 0. All you can do is look out the windows and listen. That's all the situational awareness that you've got. So how do you solve that? Have somebody in your turret. We recently actually came across a C2 that was parked up at a station, and we believe they were tick trading because they were sitting there for a little while. And as we started to gather and move in a little bit, we noticed that someone, not the pilots, flew that ship away. Right? And the person who was at the terminal was still on the ground at that terminal. They picked up another little ship and flew off. So that's one way to avoid it is, situational awareness. Have somebody sitting in your ship at the guns or at the bridge, keeping an eye on the radar. And if something pops up and they look at it and it's a blue, it's a mantis, it's anything with guns and no cargo bay at a trading terminal, you have to wonder. So yeah, that's an easy way right there is that person. I can't remember if they got away or not. They might have actually gotten away from us. Because I don't think we were ready. We were expecting them to still be at the trade terminal. And suddenly it's just flying away. And we're like, but the pilot's still at the terminal. Right? So, yeah, that is something that you can do. Situational awareness is very important. But it's hard to do. You can't do it while you're staring at the terminal. And when you're mining, your focus is on mining. And so most of the time, in some cases, there is no radar for you to be looking at. And in all other cases, you're already distracted with something else. So again, having that second pair of eyes is super beneficial. Now, I'm starting to sound like a broken record a little bit on that because it is a super important point. But there are a few other things that you can do too. I want to see what else Avenger One has to say here.
Gold is being sold. If you see any kind of interdiction vessel around you, do not take off. These are great opportunities to call for help and find security personnel that will help you get to a safe place.
Okay, so what he says is, if you come back from your trade terminal and you get in your ship and you look down at your radar and you see 5 blips, he says, don't leave the armistice zone. Call for help, right? Now, I've got news maybe for some people here, and it's not going to be what you want to hear. And some of you might call me a griefer for saying or suggesting this, but this is the rules as I understand them. If you are at, say, Bezdek on a moon, trading on a pad where you cannot spawn a ship, you are fair game for rams. Now, is it going to be harder for those pirates to get those boxes? Yeah. It will be hard. Is it going to be impossible? No. And in some cases, we may still be able to use our tractor beams. So actually, this advice is kind of garbage. I mean, yeah, you might be able to buy like 2, maybe 5 minutes if your pirates are especially patient people. But I'd say after 2 minutes, yeah, those pirates are probably figuring out what size ship they need to bring to ram you off of that pad. Um, yeah, so you don't have to like it, but that's the way it is.
Understand that if you're in a trading vessel like a Freelancer Max, a C2, A2, M2, or any kind of ship with large cargo, even the fastest trading vessel is much, much slower than the slowest interdiction ship. But what we've been seeing out there with all these trading ships is the complete lack of awareness and knowledge that they might be at risk.
Okay, so this whole kind of idea is kind of moot, really, and he tells you why right there. Every single cargo ship in the game now, didn't always used to be this way, but now is slower than the interdiction ships. So you will never outrun your quantum dampener, your mantis, your blue. You're never going to do it. You can fly in a straight line all day long, and you're never going to outrun that mantis or that cutlass blue. So, honestly, being situationally aware as a solo trader or miner really doesn't do you much good. I mean, if you're really on it and you spot those pirates as early as you possibly can and you zip out of there right away, there's a chance. There's a chance you make it. And those pirates aren't prepared or are surprised or not expecting you to do this. Maybe you get away. But realistically, you can't outrun us. If you can outgun us, you are an impressive pilot, or those are some real garbage pirates. Because very few of the trade ships are even remotely combat capable, especially compared to the light fighters and medium fighters that you're probably going to be encountering. Right? So you can't run, and you can't fight. What else does Avenger One have to say?
From sitting beside somebody on an SMO trading station, watching a ship load up, completely oblivious to the people around him, you need to watch for these things. Piracy is going to get more and more and more lucrative because the risk is there. Pyro will be.
Okay, so what? He says you need to be watching for all of these things. What are you supposed to do when you see it? Right? Just watching doesn't do you any good. You have to understand how to react, right? He's switching over to Pyro now, which I am not really sure how this is going to tie in. Let's see what he's got to say.
A place where piracy will happen on a pretty regular basis. So if you want to survive Star Citizen, you need to start watching for these signs. Here are some signs very clearly that you should watch for.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure if there's much meaningful information coming out here other than be situationally aware of what's going on. And he's not wrong. This is super important. This may be one of the most important things. But if you're a solo trader or a solo prospector or mole pilot, your situational awareness is going to be limited at best. So what else can you do? There are some things, believe it or not, that you can do to avoid being pirated. So here's the first one. If you are in most of the moons, you are able to do a quantum jump from a pretty low altitude. I think among the highest is around 3,000 meters, right? You may not be able to jump to another moon or to another planet, but you will be able to jump across the moon that you're on or to an OM at a very low altitude. Okay? So when you set yourself you set your route to whatever sell point you're going to. If it doesn't include an OM, you'll have to climb to a higher altitude in order to actually start your quantum spooling and jump, right? That puts you outside of the protection of the Armistice Zone. So let me back up a little bit here and explain a core concept. The trading locations that have Armistice Zones also have what we call the Green Zone. And the Armistice Zone applies to weapons, right? But the Green Zone is the area in which your quantum snaring device, your quantum snare, your quantum dampener, will not function. Okay. So when you're talking about, let's just say, for sake of argument, we're talking about Lathan on Ariel. Okay, that has a jump out ceiling, minimum ceiling of 3,000 meters. Well, that gives you a window, believe it or not, of another 3,000 meters before we can get our snares active. Right? So the Mantis, or the Blue, will have, and excuse me, I said snare, I should have said dampener. Will be positioned 6,000 meters above Lathan, directly above Lathan, ideally, with a quantum dampener. Now, the quantum dampener has a radius of 2 kilometers. Okay, so that means between the altitudes of 3,000 meters and 4,000 meters, you can jump out. You can just go. Now, what people do is they see the snare and they see the 3 or 4 other pirates sitting there in their whatever ships, and they panic and they floor it and they hit the engines as fast as they can go. And they miss that window. They fly right by it. They don't even realize they had the chance to go. And as soon as you go higher than 4,000 meters, we've got you. There's nothing you can do. You can't outrun us. You can't outgun us. Maybe you can get us up on comms, and maybe you can convince us to accept some form of payment. Maybe. But at this point, if you don't have backup, or a turret gunner, or something, you have a next to 0 chance of getting out of this with your cargo and life. AMD 300 has a question here. How are you going to handle a hull C? Well, you know, I haven't actually even been inside the hull A. But from what I can guess right now, based on current game mechanics and what I understand about the hull C, we would probably be finding it in space, so we don't even have to worry about gravity pulling it down to the moon. We would probably soft death it, clear it, and start offloading the cargo. Pretty much the same thing as we would do with most other ships, really. I mean, we wouldn't necessarily have to board it and clear it, right? Because the cargo is on the exterior. But you wouldn't want that salty player, you know, going EVA and fucking up your recovery operation, right? So you got to go and you got to kill him. It would be mostly pretty much like any other hit, just on a different ship. We would also have to bring a lot of logistics to deal with that. And honestly, unless they were selling something really valuable, at a certain point it makes more sense to say, hey, look, you want to pay us to live? And try the extortion route with that. Because a C2, honestly, is a big enough task already for a group of 6 pirates. Something like a whole C could take hours, unless you had a larger logistics team. So, yeah, that's also something to consider.
Most of the situations that we ran into when we pirated other people was that they didn't realize who was watching them. A lot of times people would be completely oblivious to the ships that were sitting around them abandoned, or that there were other people, infantry, just kind of walking around watching what they were doing. You always have to be on your guard and keep your eyes open and find out who is watching you. Because if you're trading a ship and you've got plenty of cargo, you are the prey. And you must look around yourself and think to yourselves at all times, who is watching me and who is going to attack me next? Your situational awareness will save your life. Check your surroundings before you start loading cargo. And
Okay, so yes, if you jump into a spot and your pirates are so sloppy as to let you see them, if they're there, yeah, you definitely should just go somewhere else. Any person who has any idea of risk involved in what they're doing would immediately be like, oh yeah, that's really suspicious. I think I'm just going to go somewhere else. Now, you fall into the trap, though, of, oh, well, if I go somewhere else, I'm going to have to, deal with something less valuable. Yeah. That's the reality, right? If you want to go to the high value stuff, that's where you're going to find pirates, most likely. If you don't like that, then don't deal with the high value stuff. Go for the medium value stuff.
if anything you find is suspicious, investigate and possibly even get some security personnel close to you in case.
That's another good suggestion. If you fly in, okay, so here's another one, which he's also failing to mention. If you fly into a moon, let me change that. When you fly into a moon, the first thing that you should do is look to the upper right-hand corner of your screen and check to see if comms are active. Because if they're not, that's a pretty good indication that there's some illegal shit going down on that moon. And maybe there's an organized group of players who have knocked down that comms in order to hunt without repercussion and complication on that moon. So that should be the very first thing that you do. And if you see that comms are down, you know right then and there that continuing to go on this trade run that you're planning is a risk. Now beyond that, yeah, obviously look at your radar, right? And if you see a bunch of ships on your radar, that's probably bad. That's probably bad news. It's a good sign that you should turn right around and go somewhere else. And this only works if it happens before you land. Now, I got to tell you, the pirates that know what they're doing, if they're sitting around with their shields down, their weapons down, in low signature ships far away, because they don't need to be up close to see your big old C2 flying into the station, right? They pick you up from 30 kilometers away, right? But you need to be 5 kilometers away for your radar to actively pick up one of us who understands how to wait without being seen. So, what can you do? I'll tell you. The next thing that you do after checking to see if comms are up and looking at your active radar is to hit tab. And do a scan and look around. You're not looking for the boxes on the ground right now, you're looking for the boxes in the air. If there are boxes in the air, this is another sign that things here may not be good for you. Now you can go investigate, but again, if that pirate knows what they're doing, they're going to see you approach and they're going to turn around and they're going to get out of there before you can get more information. Maybe you get closer and you see like, oh yeah, that's definitely a mantis, I should just go. Okay, go. But the other thing that he says is bring your friends, bring security, bring backup. And yeah, pretty much the only thing that's going to help you if you've been successfully caught and snared by a gang of pirates is backup. That's basically it. Maybe you can, throw your ship around and rotate your shields enough to delay long enough for your friends to show up if they're not going to follow you around or sit in your turret. That's an option. that might work for you, depending on the amount of firepower that gang of pirates can bring to bear. There are a few other things. Let's see what else Avenger One's got to say.
The worst happens. Let's talk a little bit about step 2, which is if you do get engaged, what do you do? If by some chance your scout was not able to pick up the trackers and you do end up getting caught, you only have 3 real options: to run, to hide, or to fight. I want to use this example as the correct response to a situation that could have gone wildly out of control.
I'm interested to see what happens here in this event, but I gotta say, run, hide, or fight, none of these are the right answer. I suspect what happened here is this player either got really lucky, or Avenger and his crew just aren't seasoned pirates and didn't know how to handle this situation correctly. In fact, I can already tell you, they're engaging this C2 and they're cracking the shields and doing damage to it while it's in atmosphere, and that's already a sign that they don't really know how to do it. What you really want to do is let them get outside of atmosphere, so that when you soft death them, they don't come crashing down to the atmosphere and hard death and result in a much smaller score for the gang of pirates. So, knowing this, you industrially minded player, one thing that you can do currently in game that will frustrate your pirates, maybe it won't thwart them, but it will frustrate them, is to stay in atmosphere. Because if you never leave atmosphere, and they aren't prepared to shut down your ship, they're not going to want to soft death you. I mean, they probably will, right? Because they're not going to let you go, right? But you basically ensure that they get a fraction of what they were hoping to get from hitting your ship. But I'm, again, pretty sure Avenger One's not going to tell you to do that.
For this A2 pilot. He was outnumbered and tackled outside of the armistice zone of SMO-18 buying gold. His reaction was the proper one, realizing that he was being tackled by 2 interdictor class
He's running home, y'all. Look at him. He's running straight home.
Vessels, a Cutlass Blue, and a Mantis. His only option was to return to the safety of the armistice zone and call for backup.
Okay, so no. That's not your only option. It's an option. And yeah, you know, if your pirates want to honor the sanctity of the armistice zone and not ram you, yeah, maybe you buy yourself some time. Maybe you get to shit talk for a few minutes before the pirates get tired of you and ram you. Maybe you get lucky and they just don't know. Right? But no, running and hiding in armistice doesn't help. And it looks like this C2 is going to land on the pad. That's another thing. If you land on the pad, yeah, we can just blow your ship up. We'll just hard death it, soft death it. I mean, it's going to get hard death because it's going to get rammed, right? But we can still use our tractor beams on that landing pad. So you really haven't even inconvenienced us.
If he had run, he would have been caught. If he had stood and fought without turret gunners, he would have also lost. In this situation, he made the only decision he could possibly have made, and that one saved his life.
No, see, you let him go. You let him go because you didn't know. And it's okay to not know, because it is confusing, right? The language is pad ram. That's what they say. You can't pad ram. Well, that dude is clearly on a pad, right? But it's not the kind of pad that spawns ships. And that means they're a clear target. So, yeah. That dude got lucky because Avenger One just didn't really know. And that's fine. But here, let me tell you what he actually should have done. Okay, in his situation in SMO-18, this tactic doesn't really work. It might work, but it probably won't work. So like I was talking about earlier, there's that green zone. right? Any trading station that has Armistice Zone also has the green zone. And the green zone says any dampener that gets, any ship with a dampener that gets within, say, we're just going to say 6,000 kilometers, that puts you a little bit outside of it, but that's kind of your safe zone. Any ship that gets within that range, the dampener immediately shuts down, and it doesn't even tell the pilot of the Blue or the Mantis that that's happened. They have to be aware that the quantum interdiction symbol in the upper right hand corner of their screen is gone, right? And it's tiny, and you're not focusing on the upper right hand corner of your screen, right? So a lot of times, what you can do is you turn around and you fly back through the Armistice Zone. You go up, you say you've gone up, you panicked, you flew up, you're snared, you're dampened, right? There's no outrunning the pirates, there's no outgunning them. So you turn around and you go back to the Armistice Zone, but you don't stop. You gun it straight through the Armistice Zone. And as soon as you get through it, you angle up and you line up and you try to jump out of there. And you hope, in the case of a hit on a planet where there is a much larger atmosphere, you hope that you get outside of the atmosphere so that you can do a jump before that Blue or that Mantis pilot realizes, oh shit, they dragged me through the green zone. My quantum snare is down. My quantum dampener is down. It's not active. And now they're not focusing on flying because they have to like reactivate their dampener, right? You can use this window of time to escape. On a moon, you're actually a lot safer because there is no large atmosphere for you to ascend out of before you can jump. You just fly through the green zone, get up to 1,000 kilometers, and jump away. And this is actually a great way to avoid getting pirated. And those of you who have sat with me for this long maybe learned a really valuable trick to avoid getting pirated. So there you go. Let's see what else he's got. And maybe I've got one or two more for you too.
He is one of the very few that made the right call at the right time. Understand that the protection zone of Armistice Zones is one of the only options that you may have if you do end up getting caught. So don't panic and understand what threats are attacking you. If any of the ships assaulting you...
It's also misleading. The Armistice Zones on the moons and planets, yes. Weapons are disabled in those, and you can't be fired on. You can still get rammed. The Armistice Zones around the stations, however, like Everest Harbor, Port Olisar, Grim Hex, Arkel One, you, believe it or not, you may not know this, you can use your guns inside the Armistice Zone. It's maybe going to get you a violation, but if you don't really care so much about breaking the law, yeah, you can shoot your guns all you want inside the Armistice Zone. And I encourage you to do so.
Is an interdictor class vessel. You have no options except for the return to the safety of the Armistice Zone. Make no mistake that if any choice to fight or to run is taken with interdictor class vessels tackling you, the only option you will have is to die.
Yeah, he's not wrong about that. You can't run and you can't fight, right? Those aren't your only other option. Your other option to go and hide also, most of the time, is not going to work. What you need to do is drag them through the AZ and try and escape like that. Stay inside the atmosphere if you can't escape, right? Because at least they're going to have to hard death the ship. The other thing that you can do, though, he may bring this up later, we'll see, is to reach out to the pirates. It used to be the other way around, that we'd be reaching out to you, but nowadays, if you reach out to us and we're feeling like talking, you might be able to talk your way out of the situation with, a little bit of money to help things along.
Here's an example of the same kind of situation with another C2, but this time the pilot chose to run. And as we can see here in this situation, running is never the answer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait for you guys so I don't spook him right away.
He is in full rocket launch mode.
Yep, let's get him.
Yeah. He's already 2/3 of the way outside.
That's fine. I'm 10 kilometers closing fast. 9,000, 8,000,
With you.
7,000, targeting 6,000,
7.6.5.
closing at 500, 3, 2,
I'm engaging.
interdicted.
I'm engaged.
This is actually really sloppy. If you look at them right now, they just got the interdiction at 9.5 kilometers. This cat, it's a C2. This C2 is like half a kilometer away from being able to jump away. They just barely got their dampeners in position on time. And that happens, but there's no reason why they couldn't have had one dampener closer to the target. So yeah, I mean, really, you would want to position your dampener in a situation like this. You don't have to do it so low at 6 kilometers, but there's really not much reason to not put it at 6 kilometers. So that you're right on top of that C2.
Engage.
Oh my god! If you could see my screen, all you guys are converging at once.
Yeah, I'm gonna call them.
Record that shit.
Yeah. Hello.
What's this guy's name? Razorback? Okay, his shields are down. He's taking damage. So okay. Slow it down. Slow it
Red
down.
hull,
Slow it down.
red hull, red hull, red
Slow it
hull.
down. Immediately stop shooting. Stop.
Halt.
Yeah, we did.
If there are no interdictors close by, the option to run is viable. However,
if there's nothing stopping you from jumping, there's no reason to stick around and fight, right? So I don't know. This is kind of some weird advice, right? Because like any real pirate group is gonna bring dampeners. They're gonna stop you from jumping, right? So if that's not the case, what you're probably actually dealing with is probably just some murder hobos who just trying to do some murder hoboing.
aren't really in the best condition to fight, but at the very least, hopefully maybe you have a gunner with you that can put some pressure on. But again, the option to fight is the last resort. The best option is to hide if you do end up getting engaged, like we showed in the first.
That's one thing you can do is if it's a small pirate crew and you're good at first-person combat, then you let them soft death your ship, and you wait for them to board, and you kill them when they board. You take up a defensive position, preferably one where they're not going to be able to sneak up on you from behind, and you kill them. And you use their transport ship to move your stuff away. Is that likely? Probably not. But it's an option.
First example, fly back to the Armistice Zone, don't panic, call for help. It's best to bring your own scouts to help you keep eyes and look for threats as the situation develops. But the worst option that you can is to fight to the death or suicide. I can't tell you how many times we caught people and the first reaction was to panic, was to run or to fight. And even though they died trying, the fact is they died and all their cargo was lost. They never picked up the phone even though we called them multiple times, tried to raise them on global chat to stop and surrender. They all just...
Yeah, so especially in the American servers, there's this sort of mentality of we will not negotiate. Under no circumstances will we negotiate with pirates. And honestly, I'm fine with that. I want to shoot you. I want to kill you. I don't want to have to talk to you. I don't want to have to, like, wait for you to tell me it's 3 days from payday and you've only got $20, but if I let you get to the station, then you know. No, I don't want to hear any of it. I just want to blow you up, and I just want to take your stuff. It's really that simple, honestly. So if you're gonna reach out, don't fuck around, don't waste our time, don't lowball us. Chances are we've got a pretty good idea what your cargo is worth, and we're gonna know if you're trying to give us some bullshit offer. And listen, we've heard every sob story in the book. It's not gonna work. You know, we're not going to care. We're gonna say, oh, you spent every last dime on this cargo? That was a mistake, and then we're gonna start shooting. So, a deterrent that you can try is to reach out proactively and try and establish communications. Some groups of pirates will hold fire when this is happening. Others won't. Others might not answer. I might not answer. We'll probably have general chat off, you know, so you better hail us. Do a direct, direct call. That might work. But yeah, don't fuck around.
Showed the middle finger and died anyway. My question to the Star Citizen player base that will be watching this video is, why not parlay? At the very least,
It's ego. Let's be real. It's an ego thing. Most people are, it's an ego, or they, on principle, they won't do it, or they're too angry to even consider it. Every once in a while, you'll come across a businessman who is interested in losing as little in this situation as possible. And believe it or not, the way to do that is to talk. But I'm going to say this as somebody who's been doing this for a while. Y'all have been ignoring my calls for fucking 2 years now. 2.5 years. And you expect me to not start picking up when you call? I don't know, guys. Not likely. But maybe you catch me on a good day. Who knows?
buy time for security forces to come help you out. And even if it's a 1% chance that people might let you go or only extort you for a little bit of money, isn't it worth the shot? Instead of dying for certain death? Some like to go out on their own terms, but it's ultimately up to you. Perhaps with death of a spaceman and more serious repercussions to the loss of a ship and cargo, more people might be willing to talk when they get caught.
More people are willing to talk than there used to be. But still, it's not super likely. I think it's gone from like maybe 2% of the people to maybe somewhere between 5 to 10% of the people. But I gotta tell you, I haven't really been scrolling through the list of names to try and call somebody up to ask for a ransom in a long time.
Either way, it's up to you. And I'll leave you off with this feel-good story of an entrepreneurial young man and a ship and a crew of pirates that gave him the time of his life.
Okay, so we're going to stop watching this video at this point. At this point, it goes from trying to be educational to just a play session, which is not a bad play session. I think, just to sum it up, he hits a cat and convinces the cat pilot to run cargo for the pirate crew, which is cool. But, you know, if you want to watch that, I suggest that you go check out Avenger One's video. I'm sure you know how to find it. And give it a watch. Anyhow, I think that's going to do it for this. I do want to say that I'm planning on beginning a new series of videos where I take a look at some of the Chaos Squad footage that I've got kicking around and kind of look at it in more of an educational light and kind of watch through it with you all and maybe pause it and talk about what's going on and why we made the decisions that we made What are some ways that we can improve what we're doing? What are some things that maybe the industrialists can, do to avoid what we're doing? And I can't believe it. I'm going to say it now at the very end of this video. Here's one other tip for you guys, and most of you have probably heard it already if you're really, trying to learn how to avoid getting pirated. But it's very simple. It's called doglegging. So instead of going from your purchasing location, the full cargo hold, to your sell point directly in a straight line where we can predict that and easily set up a snare, you kick out and you go off in a different direction, preferably perpendicular to your desired route, right? It doesn't have to be a lot, but the more you go, the better odds you have of avoiding any potential snares. Okay, so if you're going from, let's just use Crusader to Hurston as an example. You could go out to one of the Lagrange points, kind of somewhere in between there, and then jump from the Lagrange point to Hurston, right? And that'll probably do. But if you really want to be sure, you can jump all the way out to Microtech and then make your run to Hurston from Microtech. Now, there's not really a need to do that. That's an over-exaggeration, but it's to kind of prove the point, right? The further you go, the more likely it is that you avoid the snare that's going to potentially be set up for you on that straight shot route. Okay, so that's your last tip. I hope that you found this educational, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.